So determine the equation of the line. Just going to start off with what is our general equation of a line. Let me remember what the general equation of a line is. Tyler?
M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1.
Sorry, M is equal to
y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1.
okay. That is the general equation of our line. Yeah, so this is a slope, right? M was short for slope. Okay, which is important, which we'll need. Okay, but what was the general equation of our line? General equation of a line. Matthew? Not Matthew. Michael?
Y equals.
Yeah, y is equal to mx plus b. What was the m for?
Slope.
Slope. How about b? Y-intercept. Okay. So those are the two things that we need to figure out. And once we could figure that out, we could figure out the equation of our line. Okay? Right? M was our slope, or constant rate of change, right? The constants of variation. Right? That is the thing that's going to vary our independent variable so we get our result. B, the y-intercept, sort of looks like our starting value for an equation. Alright? So, Tyler's already hinted us how we get our slope. So I'm going to work off of here. So we have 2 points. So I'm going to call this point 1, point 2. And I want you to, as you go through this and calculate the slope, label your points. Because if you don't get this habit, you're going to get your x's and y's confused and you come to the wrong slope. So because this is point 1, I'm going to label this as x1, and that's y1. And here this is x2 now, and y2. So my equation, y2 is 808, no 800. y1 is negative 88. x2 is 202. And x1 is minus 20. Okay? Take the time to write those out. Getting our slope is important. It's the most important part of the line of our equation. We have that off, a lot of our answers are going to be off. Okay? So here 800 plus 88 gives us 888. 200 or plus 20, 202 plus 20 gives us 202. Well, 222. And we take that, plug in our calculators, so we get a slope of 4. Okay? So just take one piece of information that we get at a time and plug it back in to our general equation. So now we get y is equal to 4x plus b. Okay? Don't need to get the whole thing at once. One thing at a time. So slope was pretty easy. We had a formula for that. So remember the formula, that was great. How do I get b though? How do I get the y-intercept? I could graph the line. I picked these numbers on purpose. It's pretty huge numbers. And some of you try graphing it. How accurate were you to get your y-intercept? Yeah, it's gonna be not very. So this goes back to, we actually took this up yesterday for those who went up and the last class. So that's why I'll kind of review it. But that was a good solution that Colleen had. So we just graph it. Just plot the point. So we can plot 202, 800, and start working backwards over a slope. Eventually we get a y-intercept. Handy in some cases, not quite so handy in others. Right? So that's what we need to try to find an algebraic solution. So how can we find B? Ideas? How can we find B?
That has something to do with y1 and y2.
That's something to do with y1 and y2.
Y, they go down.
Okay.
That's
Okay. Anything else? Right?
You pick one set of each coordinates, put it into the equation, and see how much like you need to like make it.
We need to plug into one set of each
I mean,
coordinate.
for example, if I pick point one,
If you pick point 1, Okay. So this one here,
y would equal negative 88, x would equal negative 20.
okay, so here you're saying, yes, I know x is equal to 20 in this point, and y is equal to so negative 20, and y is equal to negative 88. Right? I mean, that's a coordinated point.
And then you plug it into the equation, so negative 88 equals like the y equals
Why am I plugging that into the equation?
so find out the y.
But they're not even related. One's a point and one's a line. Right? Why is that?
yeah.
Well, x is x and y is y. Well, here I have the equation of a line. Okay, but what's the relationship there? Why can't I plug into like y equals 10x plus b? Why can't I just say, you know what, I'm going to come up, yeah, I got y, so what happens if I just go y is equal to 3x plus b, and I'll just plug into that. Well, that's the slope between those 2 points.
And we're trying to find the line between us.
Well, the line that goes through those 2 points. Okay, so this is part I want to emphasize. The line is going through those 2 points. So remember what a line was. Is line really a line? No. Right? It just is appearance of a line. A line is a billion, gazillion points. Right? So one of those points, we're given a fact 2 of those points that fall that match this equation. So this is why we need to use this equation. Right? So it's an illusion of the line passing through that point, but what that really means is this point fits into this equation. So Brian is right. When we take x value and the y value, we plug into this equation, it makes it true. That's what that meaning of that line is. It gives us a relationship between our x and y values. So our relationship says that when x is negative 20, our y is negative 88. This relationship here. So we just plug that in. That's why we're allowed to plug it in, because the line passes through those points. Unless the line passes through those points, it's meaningless. It's not related whatsoever. Okay? So here we got negative 88 is equal to 4 times negative 20 plus b. So how do I get b? Veronica? Yeah, so we go back to that couple of units ago, where you guys did fabulous on that unit on equations, solving for equations. So we just need to isolate for b. So here I'm just going to simplify this part first. So I get minus 88 equal to minus 80 plus b. Then you're gonna add 80 to both sides. Right? It's been a while since we've done this. Some of us might have forgotten already. We're gonna relearn it really quick. Even if I have to start writing out those steps again.
Is it 4 times negative positive?
4 times negative 20.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we need to bone up on our arithmetic skills as well. So negative 88 plus 80 is negative 8. And then here my 80s cancel out, so I got B. So that's my value of B. Now I just plug that back into my equation up here. So I get Y. Therefore, Y is equal to M is 4, X minus 8. So that's the value of my equation. I could quickly check this by plugging in the other point. Here, my X value is 202. So what's 4 times 202? 808 minus 8 gives me 800, which was my Y value. Good. Okay. I could have used the other point to figure out the B. We did that as an exercise last class, where we had one group doing one point, using one point, the other group using the other point. We came to the same B value. Now we want to graph this. Do I really want to take these 2 points and graph a line? No. Now that I have this, I can say that here is my y-intercept, 0, negative 8. My slope is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my line looks like something like that now. Okay. So you don't have to take the actual points to graph it. Once you got your equation, you just graph it with your equation, your y-intercept and your slope. Okay. So re-emphasize that you need, why I didn't put the scale here, make sure you have a scale. Your x and your y-axes, label your origin, and make sure you have arrowheads in your lines. Those are easy marks to keep. Easy marks to lose as well. Okay? Make sure you have those things. Any questions with this example? Okay. So you haven't realized that equation is key. You need to memorize it. Y is equal to mx plus b. Oh, we need to have extra graph feature here. You can start working on the next form of question. Summoner?
Yeah.
Good luck. Okay. See, you're not trying to move closer to see. You can't see the board? You can go sit up here or sit up. Does she want to sit up here? Does that make a difference? Speak up. Alright? Don't be shy. Okay, so here we have a video rental company that has, we don't have that anymore. We should change this question.
Well, in Florida, they have those
Netflix.
Netflix. Netflix has a monthly plan where you can pay $10 a month, and then for every movie that you watch, they charge you $2. Okay. It's not really Netflix. I think Netflix is just $8 a month, right?
Plus how much gigabytes of streaming you use to your internet.
So that depends on your internet plan. Okay? But let's just say that they charge you $2 a movie to watch. So what is our independent and dependent variables here? Matthew? Independent is what?
It doesn't change. You can't change it. It's always going to be $10.
The monthly plan of $10? Well, what is affecting?
Because every time I'm out to pay $10,
Well, what's it going to be affecting my monthly rate,
the amount of videos you get affects how much it costs.
right? So it's the number of videos I watch, right? So the independent variable is the number of videos. That's the number of videos I watch, right? That's the thing that's going to affect what? What's my dependent variable? My monthly bill, right? So the number of videos I watch is going to affect my monthly bill. So how can I come up with the equation for this? So let's give these first things variables first. What would we call the independent variable? The number of videos. V? Sure. So we'll call this V. And what would we call monthly bill? V? Okay.
Oh.
So our equation is going to be always our dependent variable is dependent on, it's equal to something that happens with our independent variable, right? Our independent variable is going to affect our dependent variable. So that's why we have our dependent equals to something based on our independent variable. Well, what rate or what thing is always going to change based on the number of videos that we watch here? Well, the cost of the videos, right? For every video, each video, so V is for the video. For each video that I watch is going to cost me $2. Okay, so I watch 10 videos, it'll cost me 10 times 2, which is 20. I watch 5 videos, it'll cost me an extra $10. But what's my sort of initial price or my constant? 10, like I have to pay that regardless. If I watch 0 videos or I watch 1 million videos.
2 million.
Do you watch 1 million videos in a month?
No.
I'll try one of these days, I swear I will.
That's how long
You
don't have to watch the entire
This summer I will try. Maybe this March break, maybe this weekend. I need a whole month. Maybe this summer. Okay? So that's where we get the 10 from, right? It's our initial cost. You can think of this initial cost, initial value. Or what's the value? What do I have to pay? What's the value for a dependent variable when an independent variable is set to 0? Several ways of thinking of that, right? So finally, 3, what is the total cost if I watch 25 rentals? We'll work it out. Right, this is why we have our equation. So B is equal to 2. So what's the value of B here now? 25. So we want to find out B is 25. So I'll write that here. That means basically B is equal to 25 plus 10. So B is equal to 50 plus 10. So B is equal to 60. So therefore my bill is $60. If my bill was $100, how many videos did I watch?
So, you watch 40. No, yeah, no, 45. 45. No, 45.
So how do we get 40, 50, 45, a whole bunch of answers?
It's 45.
So when we pose a question, we're not going to start blurting out the first thing that comes to our head. Right? Take some time, think about it. How do we get 45 in?
You do 45B, so 45 times 2 is 9.
So you guess what the V was. So that is the issue. Right? So we don't want to take a guess at what the V is. And that's why we said 40, 50. We try to calculate and guess. And that's how my daughter does solving equations in grade 8, which I'm trying to fix. I don't know why we teach that in grade 8. What, solving equations by guessing?
It's actually good if you're good at guessing.
That's how I
You
am.
can look at it and be like, oh,
It's too
100.
But the way I look at it, are you incapable in grade 7 of adding and subtracting? So why don't we just teach that? So here B is 100, so we want to isolate for B. So here we're given the bill is 100, right? And now we want to isolate for B. So we get 100 minus 10 is equal to 2B. So 90 is equal to 2B. 2B is equal to 45. Okay. I don't mean to belittle guessing. It's important. It's a good skill to have. My concern is that when we get things right based on guessing, yes, you'll probably pass grade 9 based on good guessing. You might even get by grade 10 on good guessing, although I haven't seen that yet. Right? At some point, you need to rely on your skills beyond the guessing. What guessing will help you later on is says, you know what? I'm going to guess is this, but once I solve it, does my answer make sense now? My initial reaction was this, my actual math says this, there's a disconnect. So I must have done, something's not right here. Maybe I did the math wrong, or maybe I misunderstood something over here. So guessing is an important skill to have, but you cannot rely on. All right? Questions on this example? So this is how we use linear equations to help us solve problems. Okay, so today we're going to talk about we don't really need to spend a whole lesson. It's not so bad. So we're given an equation of line in one form. Y equals mx plus b. Okay? There's other ways you can express an equation, and it's this way, was ax plus by plus c is equal to 0. So this is called standard form. Okay. So here a, b, and c are integers. Okay, so they're always integers, not decimals, not fractions, always integers. A and B can't be 0, right? So in other words, we always have to have an x, and we always have to have a y. And A is always a positive number. So here are some examples. So we're going to convert from y-intercept form, or y equals mx plus b form, to standard form. Or actually go the other way around. You go about both ways. So here we give an equation in standard form. How can I get it to y equals mx plus b form? Believe it or not, you guys already done this. You've already done it. Didn't realize it. We tricked you. We taught you something that you weren't even supposed to realize you're supposed to know yet. I know. It's evil. Why have we done this? when you have an equation that looks like that, y equals mx plus b, what do you notice on a particular side of the equal sign?
Y and X are inside.
X, too many answers fly at me. What do we notice about one side of the equal sign? Particularly when you have an equation like this.
There's two variables on one side.
There's two variables on one side, yeah, so there's two variables here. There's actually three variables here, right? Anything else? Brian, you had said something?
Y and X are inside.
Y and X on one side, okay. Whereas in standard form, they're both on the same side. So here we have Y and here we have X. Opposite sides. Anything else? It's like staring us in the face almost. Tyler, you gonna say the same thing? What are you gonna say?
It equals 0.
Well, we don't know if this equals 0 or not. Right? There's no zeros here, so we don't know what's equal to 0. Right? Again, just the I think I wonder, just a straight observation. A lot of math, believe it or not, is just taking what we see, staring us right in front of the face. And that's how I taught half of the grade 10 course on quadratics. Just looking at this. What is it that you see? Recognizing what we see. State the obvious. And then we just move on from it. Aaron, you had said it.
Y is isolated.
Y is isolated. What does that mean?
Y is on its own.
Y is by itself. So when I give you an equation for the area of a rectangle, and I want you to isolate for W, you guys remember doing that?
Yes.
Yeah. So now I'm giving you an equation that looks like this. I'm asking you to what?
Isolate.
Isolate for what? That's all it means. Given an equation that's like all mixed up, if you want to think about it that way, all we do is just isolate for y, and then we get into the slope intercept form. So how can we isolate for y in this case? Well, we don't move things.
You subtract Y from both sides.
So you want to subtract y from both sides?
And you have negative y.
And then you multiply by negative
Okay.
on both sides.
Or you can go plus 1 on both sides and take away the 1. Plus 1 will do. And you take away 1.
Well, I'm going to do things in multiple steps now because we're so familiar with equations. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides and then add 1 to both sides. Okay, remember, taking a little bit bigger steps now, right? We could do more than one. You want me to slow down and do one at a time? I can back up and do it one at a time. Yes? How about for the first example, I'll do it one at a time. So first, I'll subtract 2x from both sides. Then I'm left with y minus 1 is equal to minus 2x. Then I'm going to add 1 to both sides. And so I'm left with y is equal to 2x plus 1. Sorry, negative 2x. Okay? All we're doing is just isolating for y.
That is so much easier than the other way.
What is so much easier?
If you're actually given like this in itself is easier than having to find out all the different stuff when you just do it like the other way.
You're saying.
Yeah, I know. I like doing.
Yeah, this way's so much better because it already gives you all the values. You know, like.
You mean this way?
Yeah, it's so
Yeah,
much
and then you
easier because
find
this doesn't give you any values. It'll give you like 2 coordinates. And then this one you just need
I don't understand. Well, you know which way? This is the standard form versus this
No,
form?
I like changing standard form into the regular
Yes.
form because it already gives you all this stuff.
Oh yeah, that's why, and I mentioned this before. Slope intercept form is the most awesome form we can have of a line. Unfortunately, not all things are always given to us nicely. Okay? The reason is if we do science experiments, whatever, you find the equation. You actually try to figure out what the equation is. And most of the time when you figure out the equation, it's going to come out looking like standard form. Okay? So once we have it in standard form, then we can convert it into this form where it's a lot nicer to us. Okay? So in real world, we get equations that look like this in standard form, but then we can convert it to this, which is more appetizing to us. So second one, how can we do 2b or 1b?
You can add 4x to the other side.
Okay, so first step, we're going to add 4x to both sides. So we get minus 5y is equal to 1 plus 4x. Okay, done? We got y's on one side.
Then divided by negative
So we divide by negative 5. So we need to divide the whole thing by negative 5 on the other side. So we get y is equal to,
1.
I'm going to mix up the order a bit. Am I going to confuse people by mixing up that order?
No.
So basically I flip these two around. The sign in front of the 1 was a plus, so this is a plus. And now all this is divided by negative 5. Looks kind of blurry here. 4x plus 1. Okay. So is that my slope intercept form?
So you have to divide by
Well, I did divide by 5. Y is isolated.
5. Yeah, but shouldn't you divide the other side by 5 just to like?
I have both sides divided by negative 5.
Yeah, but shouldn't you actually like, you know,
Divide 4.
calculate it, divide 4x by 5, and then divide 1 by negative 5?
What I'm trying to emphasize, yeah, I know what I'm trying to say. We want to break that up, right? Because we had x part and then the d part. And this negative 5 is across everything else. So we want to break this up to say that this is minus 4 over 5x, right? So that's this part here, minus 1/5. And that's this part over here. Okay? So basically we have one big fraction, we just want to break that up to two fractions so that we have an x part and the non-x part, or y-intercept. Okay. On your sheet, there are some couple more examples. I don't have time to go through them. What I want to do is go through a couple of examples of going the other way. Okay, so now you have an equation that's in slope-intercept form. We want standard form. Now, standard form, basically what was on one side?
Y 2x. So b was on its own side and then y and
No, it's standard form.
Zero, standard.
So this is standard form right here. Basically what was on one side?
x,
All
y.
variables.
Well, I could say 0 is on one side, everything else is on the other. Right? So basically we want one big thing equal to 0. Everything on one side, 0 on the other. So how can we start that with here?
Ooh, I got
Move the y over.
oh wait, I do not got
Yeah, move y.
Yeah, you can, just
Yeah,
drop it.
that's right.
Same.
Yeah,
just do the exact opposite of what we just did.
We just want to get 0 on one side. So how can I get 0 on one side over here?
Y.
Yeah, I can just subtract. Remember, you have the power to do anything. Add, subtract, multiply, divide by anything. So here I'm going to spell it out. I'm going to do y minus y, go to minus 2x plus 3 minus y. So here I got 0, right? Y minus y gives me 0. So I gotta make sure everything's in order. I got my x, y, and my c. So I got minus 2x minus y plus 3. right? So basically, I switch these two around. Is that in standard form?
Yeah, be positive.
Yeah, A has to be positive.
Oh, so does that mean you have to
Just
multiply everything?
multiply all of them by negative.
Yeah, so in order to get my -2 to be positive, I need to multiply by -1. But I have to do the whole thing. So basically, I multiply by -1. So I multiply the -1 on that side, and -1 on this side. So what's 0 times -1?
0.
Yeah. And then basically, all I do by multiply -1, I just change the signs of everything else. Okay, so that's my equation in standard form. Okay. As you're doing this, as you start off, take the time to write down each of those steps, just so you see what's happening, you're understanding the process. Example 2. How can I isolate for that? Sorry, how can I put that in standard form? So we'll start off same thing, subtract y. So here I have 0. So I'm going to put the minus y there, plus 10. Okay, because I want x, y, and then my constant.
But doesn't x have to be positive?
X has to be positive, so I'm going to do my other trick. Right, you multiply everything by -1. So then I got 0 is equal to 3/5 x plus y minus 10. Is this in standard form?
Yeah.
Argue no. What was the requirements?
Oh, A has to be positive.
A is
They
positive.
have to be integers.
They all have to be integers.
Just multiply all of them by 5.
Yeah, so basically you take the lowest common multiple of all your fractions. Here we only have 1. And we're going to multiply everything by 5. So now 0 times 5 still leaves us 0. Now we're left with 3x plus 5y minus 50. Okay, I could take a jump from here all the way to here, but just multiply by -1 and then by 5. I just multiply straight by -5 to begin with, right? Just to flip my sign and to get rid of my denominators. And this is standard form. Okay, any questions on that?